me. I used to work with Leslie about 10 years ago, and she kind of trained me on how to do makeup and get my start because I was very interested. And then once she was done with me into shape, I left New York about 7 years ago to do makeup professionally. And if it weren't for her training, I don't think I'd be as prepared as I was. Because in New York, I mean, they definitely will eat you alive if you're not prepared. So based on her training and what she's offered as far as the setup and licensing and things that you need to be aware of to protect yourself and your client, I was definitely prepared. Still a little bit nervous when I went to New York, but definitely a lot more prepared than I would have just gone straight out there and thinking that I can run New York, because it doesn't work that way. And so now that I'm back here and I'm working for Leslie again, I created 2 looks, and the first look is the Sweetheart look, which you have on your paper there. It is based on the inspiration of Oz. It's a lighter look. It's something that you can wear in the daytime. You can also wear it in the evening. So if you wanted to take a look at your picture there, your information, it talks a little bit about the different colors that we're going to use on her. And today we're going to start with the foundation, because the foundation is kind of like your palette. So today we're going to put a satin base on her, and we're going to custom blend it if it doesn't automatically fit her right now. So I'm going to use the satin base. I'm going to get out my Q-tips here, and we are going to stripe her jawline to see if we can find a perfect match for her. The reason I'm using the satin is because she has pretty much an even skin tone. She has nice skin and it's very light. And with this look, we want something that's light, fresh, very bright, and somewhat dewy. So we went more with a satin finish. And if you look towards her right, we're just going to strap her with the O2. She has different colors in her line. O would be for olive, and would be for more of the pinks and the neutrals. And she has a little bit of an olive undertone, so we're just going to go ahead and go into the O2 line. Now, one thing with the foundations is they warm up on the skin. So what you see is not necessarily what you may get. So you really want to wait a few seconds to see how it warms up on her skin. So we striped her with the O2. I'm also going to move on to the O3, which is a little bit darker. Guys, tell me what you think is the closest match to her skin type. Not necessarily the perfect one, but the closest. I do like that it is a close match. However, there's just something that's a little bit off about it. It looked like to me that it was just like a little bit on the orangey. I'm just going to tone it down a little bit. So I'm just going to add purple or lilac to the foundation. Now you can lighten it up several different ways. You could add green, white, or lilac. Lilac kind of keeps the foundation warm. I don't want to take the warmth away from her. So I'm just going to take a smidge. So just adding a little bit of the lilac makes the foundation ready for her. So I'm going to be using my kabuki brush. You don't need too much foundation. What I like to do is I like to take the edge of the foundation and I just like to roll it down into my palette, so I'm not picking up too much product. You always want to avoid the eye area. The eye area is more for your concealer. So I'm just going to go in circular motions on the face, and I'll do one side, and then I'll let you see like the difference. And so even though she had a little bit of even skin tone in the beginning, this just kind of smooths everything out and makes it more look like an airbrush finish. So we just did half of her face. And so you can see. So I'm going to take a little bit of the concealer, and I'm just going to go ahead and start you off in the base. Spatula, I'm not going to even use all of that. I'm really just going to take the tip of my concealer, grab it just a little bit, and go at the lash line. I'm going to flip my brush where there's no product, and I'm going to blend it into the skin. So we're going to be using the HD powder on her. This is white, however it doesn't come out white. It just kind of gives you that sheer finish without being too heavy. You can use this on any skin type. Skin. And because it's ground very fine, you're also not going to find this drying in the skin, or that you're going to get those lines. So we're going to use a powder on her. I'm going to use a smudge brush. Leslie also has another one in her line that it's an angle brush. Sometimes you got to work what you're most comfortable with. For me, it's the smudge brush. So I'm going to use a little bit of Lisboa on you. I'm going to start in the middle, right here at the beginning of her brow. and then work my way to the edges. When you're working beginning of the brow, you want to be as light as possible because the brow doesn't naturally grow dark and thick. And you always want to start off light and then always go back and apply more. The key is to build. It's harder to remove darkness than it is to build it. So I'm going to take this brush right here, the Unicolor brush. I'm going to dip it into the Bal Harbor, chin up for me. I'm going to go lay it on her brow bone. I'm going to tap, not brush. I want the pigments to be really rich. I want her brow bone to come out even more. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the small brush that we use underneath her eyes. I'm going to come back around and I'm going to draw the letter C. Right here, right in the cheekbone, and right in the middle of the brows, or the peak of the brows. And I'm doing circular motions. You can do the same thing with bronzer depending on their skin tone. For darker skin tones, use like an Inca or a lighter bronzer. And then what I like to do is I like to just kind of put it right here to make this part of the lip pop out. So the next color I'm going to use is our base color, which is the New Spring color from our line, Curacao. But I'm actually just going to go ahead and place the Curacao first. You can use the Madrid first. It doesn't really matter which way you go. You just don't want to combine them. In this case, since we're laying down the base, I'm just going to have her close her eyes. I'm going to take my color, and you can see how intense that color is. I'm just going to move you over here. Okay? I'm going to just pat the color on. I'm going to stay directly on her lid. I'm not going into a crease. If you're trying to get in the inner corner, have them keep their eyes open and direct them on what they need to do. So she's opening her eyes and she's looking to the right. So you can see the color. I'm going to take my Madrid, my crease blending brush, and just look straight ahead. I'm going to go to the side of her face because remember I'm working on the corner, keeping her eyes open, avoiding the crease. And I'm going to start off very, very slowly in circular motions. Now that I know where my crease is, now I'm going to have you close your eyes. Especially when you have clients that are Asian, you have to have them have their eyes open because if their eyes are not open, you're not going to know how the color is going to lay down when their eyes are open. I'm not going to go all the way because this part right here is where the brow is closer to the eye, so I'm not going to go all the way. I'm going to keep that eye open. And then open your eyes for me. Again, I'm just focusing on the corners. The lighter color, and I'm just going to take just the edges of the top part of that color and just kind of blend it. So it looks like it's just going to blend into her brow. So you guys see how light that is? The next one I'm going to be using that's on there as well is the Tahiti. I'm actually going to take the Tahiti color and I'm just going to put it right here. Especially if someone has deep set eyes, you really want to focus on the corners. I'm just going to bring this a little bit into the crease. If I want the color to come on strong, I just move my fingers towards the brush. If I want a lighter, I just move it towards the end. The Tahiti is only really meant to just give that hint of color. You don't want it to overpower the eye. I'm going to use my smudger brush, and I'm just going to go underneath the eyes. And then look at the top of that mirror right there. I don't want her eyes looking all the way up to do the liner. People have a tendency of their eyes tear up, it waters, and it just messes up the makeup, and then you're going back to square one again. So I always have them look at something where their eyes are not strained. And you can be messy with this in the bottom because I'm just going to go back and I'm going to blend it. So what I'm doing is I'm taking that Tahiti color and I'm connecting it to the top corner of her eye. Now I'm going to be taking the darker color, Havana, so we're just going to make sure that the top liner stays only on the lash line because what's really going to bring it out is going to be the mascara. So you can see just how it just adds a little bit of color. Now I'm going to take my darker color, the same color, and I'm going to just line the bottom lashes on top of the Tahiti. I don't want to get rid of the Tahiti, I just want to accentuate the lash line. That's all I want to do. So the fun part about this is that when you go with the concealer, you can actually drag the edges of the color of the eyeshadow so it blends into the skin. So it's just not one straight line across her eyes. Take a little bit of the concealer like I mentioned earlier, just a little bit. I'm going to go to the edges of the color of the eyeshadow from the bottom. I'll flip my brush on the clean side, and I'm going to blend it into the skin. Okay. So just look down for me. I always have my clients look down, and then I go over their eyes with the mascara. And because we were very light on the lash line with the color, that eyeliner is just gonna pop now. Sometimes it's hard to see unless you put the mascara. Look straight ahead. So I'm gonna take a darker color and I'm gonna line her cheekbones. She has great cheekbones already. I like to go based on the shadows. So if you can see how she already has shadows on her face, well, that's what I'm gonna do. I know that, and you can adjust the chair. I like chairs that rotate because I can rotate the lighting. So I'll rotate her. I'll say, okay, she's got a little shadow going on here. I'm gonna take my angle brush and I'm gonna go in circular motions going downward. Now, even though you see a makeup look that has that specific blush, because her skin is a little bit different, I'm gonna go with a different color. And I like to line the jawline, just so it really defines the face. Now, if it looks kind of stripy, towards the end, you're gonna be blending it with your HD powder and the blush or bronzer or whatever you're gonna be using. So right now, it's kind of stripy. Now the face color and the neck color are always going to look different because this is always going to be lighter. So you can almost bring it down if you like faster. So I'm going to choose a light blush on her, but I want something a little bright. So right there, wherever her highest point is, I imagine if she got sunburned, where would the sunburn be? So I'm just going to go in circular motions and I'm going to blend it into that color that we use to contour her cheek with, the bronzer. So you can see. To this side, so you can see this side. If you don't put the blush on, she's going to look sickly because all you're going to see is the contouring of the cheeks and it's going to look almost skeletal. So you need to make sure you blend in a blush color for her. So right now it's intense, but that's fine because the whole point is to get it on and then to blend it in. I'm going to take Bal Harbor, I'm going to go back and I'm going to highlight her cheekbones again so you make sure we don't lose that light. I'm going to go a little bit under her eyes, just a little bit, halfway, not all the way. So I'm going to take a lip color that is closest to her natural lip. It doesn't have to exactly match the lip color. Some people have the misconception that it has to match the lipstick, and it doesn't. I'm going to use Cameo, so I'm going to be a little bit different with the lips. I'm going to use the same gloss. Can you close your lips for me? Some people are used to keeping their mouths open, because that's what they're told in the past. But have them keep their mouth closed because sometimes the lip shape, again, like the eyes, folds differently. I like to have people look just normal, as if they were just walking around. So I'm trying to get as close as possible to a natural lip color. And you can see the highlight of the lip in that Bal Harbor from what we used in the beginning. This is going to be really intense, so we're going to tone it down with the Leslie. But even again, as you can see, even with that Bal Harbor that we put on in the beginning, it still keeps the lips nice and bright, even when you put lipstick over. I'm going to take my Leslie lip gloss, and we're going to apply it over the lipstick. This is going to help tone it down. That's a sweetheart look, so you guys can take a look. You can look straight on them.